If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about wait.
And a very good morning to everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM here on DSM Media, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you know the drill. Retweet, share out, like, thumbs up on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And let's continue to have we're building so much great momentum this week here on DSM Media, Trending in the AM. So let's keep it going here today. It's Football Friday, so we're going to focus. You know, there's no Sixers game tonight. We'll talk a little bit of Phillies, but with the 15th pick in the NFL draft, Philadelphia Eagles select. And that's the theme of this show because Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni spoke a few days ago. We haven't really gotten into it. It's really crazy. The draft is less than 7 days away. And we have spent literally no time talking NFL draft and the Eagles in the last 2 weeks. I'm your host, Phil Stifle, at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter. I like to pull the Mark Point now. That's my new thing. I'm doing the Mark Point. I'm joined always by my main man, Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651. Yeah, we're going to make DSM Media. Every single person on DSM Media is now going to do the Mark Point to their name. Jason, how you doing this morning?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic, man. We're going to the Phillies game tonight together. First time I'm going to ever meet you in person. I've known you for almost 2 years now. That's what's crazy about
I'm going to show up in full drag and you're not going to know who I am.
Well, that's what's crazy, though, about this podcasting and the live streams and meeting. You know, obviously with COVID, a lot more people got into it, and I think that's part of it. But to be able to meet you and watch our Phillies hopefully get a W, it's going to be awesome.
What's up, Adam? How you doing, buddy? I have not been to a Phillies game since February. I think it was like 24th, 2020. I was down in Clearwater for my first spring training trip in February 2020. Right before everything broke. So it's been like I'm the guy that's been to, at a minimum, one Phillies game every single year. I went to my first Phillies game in 1986. It was against the Mets. I still remember it fondly. Not the game itself, but I just remember going to the ballpark for the first time with my dad. So 1986 till now. And the only time I've ever skipped games is the last 2 years. So this is a big moment. So shout out to my man Brett for hooking us up with some free tickets tonight. And if you guys are on Twitter, Brett has one more free ticket he's trying. So if you want to hang out with us, check out my Twitter page at Bearded Knowledge. It links to the guy that's giving away tickets tonight. So he's got one more free ticket. You can come hang out with us. Anyway,
we'll get to hang out with the beard.
Yeah, that's right.
The other beard.
And the Voorhees, you know, and Mr. Voorhees. I don't have a cool nickname. It's the beard and Mr. Voorhees. So we got lots to talk about today because I want to talk football. I want to talk the draft. Howie Roseman spoke. And when you hear a general manager, and pretty much every general manager in front office in football is hosting these press conferences at this point of the season, there's a lot of fluff and smoke always being spoken at this point because there's a lot of strategy going into the draft. It's not just who you want to pick at pick 15. It's making people think you want to draft other people. It's making people think that you don't care about certain people, that there's so much strategy. But when you do it, and when Howie Roseman's been around for a long time in Philadelphia, you can hear what he says, and I think you can kind of judge and make a very strong, decision on what's truthful, what's not, what's he really mean. You can really figure it out at this point. And, we'll start with the first and most important thing. The first thing he was asked about, the thing he spent a lot of time talking about, was the trade with the New Orleans Saints. This is the first time he has spoken to the media since the trade with the New Orleans Saints. And he spent a lot of time talking about flexibility and what the trade did. it takes one pick, moves it into 2023. Having that ability there. He made sure to reiterate that Jalen Hurts is our guy, and we want Jalen Hurts to succeed and be our future quarterback. But he used the term once. He didn't use the term is or will be. He used the term once. And I think when you read into it, it's exactly what we think. Jalen Hurts is the guy. They are not drafting Matt Corral or Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ridder in this draft. But he has set himself up for, as he used the term, flexibility for 2023. And it's not necessarily just flexibility for another wide receiver or whatever. It's flexibility that if Jalen Hurts is not the guy, that they've got it. And I think we've all got to come to terms with that. Using that term want, Jason, want Jalen Hurts to be the guy, to me is the way that little word there sticks out and says that they're 110% committed to Jalen Hurts in 2022, but not in 2023.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't really take much of a genius, and I don't think I even had to hear Howie come out and say it like that to know already that everything that they've done has been a methodical approach to the point where they haven't like truly went out and got him a ton of weapons where you're like, okay, he is the guy. But yet they're like doing just enough to kind of solidify the fact that he is the guy for 2022. And I think we all know this, but you're right. He's not going to, when any GM or even coach comes out and talks about their approach or the way that they're kind of working towards, a common goal, they're not going to throw all their cards out there. And Howie's the perfect poster child for that because he's always good at the way that he kind of uses his language to his advantage and to the Eagles' advantage. Because let's face it, I think a lot of the reason why he wants flexibility is exactly for what reason we know. It's if next year a better quarterback comes out in the draft, and if Jalen doesn't have a good season, it gives you the best ability to get that guy because now you have an extra pick next year. You weren't realistically, even though all Eagles fans, I mean, I know I wanted it, but they weren't going to draft 3 first-rounders, especially you don't see that too often because of the contract situation down the line that it can create.
Well, he brought that up. The 5th-year option for those first-round picks, taking 3 in 1 year definitely hurts them financially in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so I think I look at that. I also believe that in their mind, and don't be surprised if they don't make another trade where even they might trade back because there's teams that might want a quarterback, and the Eagles know this.
Yeah.
Eagles aren't one of them.
That's why they took out Matt Corral to dinner, and that's why they had a very long visit with, I think it was one. They went out to dinner with one, and one came to the facility and spent the day there. That's all smoking guns. That's not a legit thing. You want teams to think, and we're going to go into some of these other positions that he talked about, and when he phrases certain things with them, he's leading you on. Look, he knows Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Pittsburgh and the Saints both need a quarterback, and the Saints picked before Pittsburgh. So maybe Pittsburgh makes a trade, jumps up and takes one of the Eagles' picks. Maybe they jump up and take 18, and the Eagles move back to 20, and they pick up an extra second-round pick out of it or something. That's the thing there. A lot of this, like I said, when these GMs and every organization is doing it, they're trying to put out as many feelers as they can, however they can, because they want to be able to maneuver. And we all know how he loves to trade. He loves to trade those draft picks. So whether he moves up in the draft, I know there's rumors of the Eagles and Carolina are in conversation. Now, like I said, what was put out there on social media yesterday, there's no way, and I've already gotten DMs from people saying whatever to me. I'll talk to you off the air about that, Jason. But there's the proposed thing that all it's going to take is Andre Dillard and pick 101 for the Eagles to move up from 15 to 6. That's the most asinine thing. There's no way. And when you see all the other trades that happen, there's no way that 15, 101, and Andre Dillard is enough to move up from 15 all the way up to number 6. But it's a trade partner right there. Carolina doesn't need to draft a quarterback at 6. They could probably move back to 15, still get their guy at quarterback. But how he's going to maneuver? How he might move 15 up a little bit, and he might take 18 and move back a little bit, and you still might end up with 2 first-round picks. But every GM is putting out these feelers right now, and these subliminal messages that are making you think one thing when they really mean another.
Absolutely. I mean, if he wasn't doing that, would we say he was doing his job? I mean, exactly. we want him to be this way. Now, like I said, a lot of people, and I think part of the reason why, and we mentioned the 2 reasons. Obviously, the Sixers, doing well and making the playoffs, and then obviously the Phillies, coinciding with that and all the excitement around the team, even though they've kind of deflated that excitement in the last 2 weeks. But that's part of the reason why that a lot of people have kind of dropped off from talking Eagles. But I think also another reason is because they haven't really done much in free agency, and a lot of people are pissed off about that. Think about it, like everyone was all hyped when we had the 3 first-rounders, and after that trade, it seems like almost like the wind went out of the sails because and the only signing that we made was obviously the defensive end. So it's to the point where I think a lot of people are like, maybe a little annoyed, and maybe that's why you don't see as much chatter around Eagles football. Now, obviously, it's going to get ramped up now here because you're only 6 days away.
When we do this show next Friday, we'll be talking about what he did on night 1 of the draft. We'll be recapping next Friday, round 1 of the draft. So that's how close it is. So I want to talk some other specific positions. Obviously we're in agreement on the quarterback situation. It's Jalen Hurts 2022. Beyond, it's up to Jalen Hurts this year for it to be more than just 2022. And if he is, we have so much more flexibility next year to go out and make a trade or do whatever. The wide receiver position will always be a hot topic in Philadelphia, obviously. And I know we've got the Deebo Samuel part to talk about here. We will talk about that, or whether they draft one. I'm still dead set that if they select at 15, depending on how the draft board, it's going to be Jameson, it's going to be Olave, it's going to be Wilson. It's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 wide receivers, depending on how the draft board plays out. That I'm set on that. First off, we have a new wide receiver spot open on the roster because my man, J.J. Artega Whiteside, is no longer a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. No, he was not cut. He was moved to tight end. And it's funny, Jason, all last year people kept talking, why don't the Eagles move him to tight end? He's a blocker. He can catch the ball if needed. He'd be a perfect tight end. And everybody, now he's moving to tight end, which is a smart decision for him. Keeps him on the team, keeps him active. He's not going to get cut now again. But now everybody's bashing it because everybody just thought he was going to get cut, and everybody just wants to see this guy get cut. And I tried to tell people last night, take the DK Metcalf part of it out of the equation. The guy is a great teammate. He does exactly what he's told to do on a daily basis. He's told to move now a position. He's going to do it. He's going to put the effort and work in. He's well respected in the locker room. People like him on the team. Well, why? I mean, can we not separate the DK Metcalf part of the equation? Because I've separated DK out of it, and I just look at the guy, and he's going to be a good number 2 or 3 tight end on this team.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He played for USC in college, right?
No, Stanford.
Okay, Stanford. So the only Stanford guy that I know of that's done well in the NFL is Zach Ertz. Locally.
Christian McCaffrey was a
locally. I'm talking.
Yeah.
So, but there's really not that many guys that come from Stanford, and I think that goes back. And I'm not trying to get off the subject, but you want to talk about why a lot of people are down on the guy. A lot of it is because why does Howie now I know hopefully he'll take Jameson Williams this year. I want guys from big schools. You've talked about it. I've talked about it. Drafting these kind of guys, that's where you run into this problem where it's like almost like it's like the luck of the the pluck of the dart, to the dartboard. Like, why do you take a guy for? I don't think, and you're right. The DK Metcalf.
You got to separate it. You just got to pull that. It's the same thing with Jalen Reagor. You just got to separate it.
But it does become frustrating because it's like a lot of people were like when they drafted Artega Whiteside, were shaking their heads like, why would they take this guy? Like, and I know, like, you know, you heard like Howie Roseman was up late at night watching these, you know, games, you know, on the West Coast, and it's like, dude, just stop. That's why you run into these problems.
Well, so actually, on a side note, in his interview or press conference the other day, you know, he did talk about Howie Roseman, about his mistakes. He did dive into it a little bit more and said that he admitted, let me find the exact quote, you know, where was it? Howie's draft mistakes. He tried to force things sometimes. So he's learned not to put too much emphasis on filling any one position and focus on the best players. You know, so he knows that he's made these mistakes on guys like that. And he's seen it and he's learning from it. That's why you saw last year's draft. The first 3 or 4 rounds the first 3 rounds, I'll say. First 100 picks in the draft. You're not reaching. You want guys that are going to make an impact pretty quickly. And he did not reach last year in the first 3 rounds. He took the best guys. And that was the smart thing. So he's learning, Howie, not to make that kind of Artega Whiteside type mistake again.
Well, I'll give him credit then, because that's something that I would never expect from Howie. I've always said that he's one of these smug, arrogant guys that will not admit his faults. And the fact of the matter is, if he came out and admitted it, hey, kudos to Howie. I mean, that all I want is for him to progress as a drafter and talent evaluator.
And we might start seeing that right now.
Well, that would be great, dude.
I mean, on the flip side of the equation, though, he did say not to write Jalen Reagor off yet in his thing. So, look, and you know what? Just like last year, all last offseason, I said, guys, JJ was going to be on the team last year. There's no way Howie Roseman was going to cut a top 50 guy, top 60 guy, less than 3 years into his tenure with the Eagles. Jalen Reagor's only had 2 years. His first year was COVID problems and stuff like that. So he's really only had, like, let's say, a year and a half in Philadelphia. Howie Roseman will not cut ties with a first-round pick that quickly. So Jalen Reagor will be on this team. There is zero doubt. And now that JJ is not a wide receiver, Jalen Reagor 100%. I guarantee it, unless he's part of a bigger trade package, you know, with Debo, which you want to talk about Debo in a second here. Unless he's part of a trade package, there is zero chance that Jalen Reagor is not a part of the Eagles next year.
I mean, I can't disagree with you, but I think he could be part of a trade package. And I think the funny thing is I know that everybody in Philly, all, you know, fans, you and I, you know, we all like to, I don't want to say bust on, but like we're all down on Jalen Reagor. But like I'm sure around the league, there's some teams that still look at Reagor and say, well, he does have a talent because you saw it.
Right, yeah, but we got to be realistic about that, though. So, because to backtrack to that Andre Dillard being enough with the 101st pick to move from 15 to 6, the people that put that out there are thinking that Andre Dillard, they're looking at him as still he still has a first-round value to him. He doesn't. Jalen Reagor, I guess, is in the same boat. Jalen Reagor might be viewed as a potential, you know, starting wide receiver to other teams. But when they're putting together a trade package, Jalen Reagor's value isn't going to be equal to a first-round pick. You know, there's those new sites that put, you know, point values on draft picks. You know, Jalen Reagor doesn't have that top 30 value anymore.
No, but if you combine him with, say, pick 15,
right,
and you go to San Francisco and you say, give us, you know, or even pick 18, let's say, we'll give you 18 and Reagor. So they're getting a first rounder back and they're getting a wide receiver to take Debo's position. Not that he's better than Debo, but the 49ers have other options in their room where it might look intriguing to them is all I'm saying. I'm not saying, and I know that was not my proposal, obviously.
It's still going to take a lot. Some if you look at the deals at Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, the trade packages, it's going to take Debo's not on their level yet. He has the potential to get to their level, absolutely. But it's going to take more than 15 in Jalen Reagor to pry Debo away from 49ers. And it's before we speak specifically about Debo Samuel, how he was asked about the booming wide receiver contracts in this free agency. And here's exactly what was said. Roseman was asked about this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. He said every year, one position becomes the new big money maker position. So they have to make a decision about whether it makes sense for the team to take that risk, or do something different than the rest of the league and wait for it to come back to normalcy. Noting that if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're probably doing it too late. So now I don't know if that's smoke that he's trying to say, hey, San Francisco's come to them and asked, for a package, and he's trying to make it seem like he's not interested to kind of lower that, trade package a little bit. But you bring it up. You want Deebo Samuel really bad on the Eagles. And I ask you, are you willing to commit probably pick 15, probably Jalen Reagor, probably a second-round draft pick to get Deebo Samuel, plus commit $100 million now to Deebo Samuel, when realistically, we still don't know what we have at quarterback at Jalen Hurts. We love Jalen Hurts, me and you. We think he's the guy. But are we ready to contend for a Super Bowl yet? Are you willing to make that commitment to Deebo Samuel now, knowing that we still might be 2 years away from that Super Bowl run?
Well, that's a very good question, and I think I'd like to kind of maybe debate that with you. But I guess my question is,
this is not the gavel show. This is not a courtroom debate here.
Who do you consider the better wide receiver, DK Metcalf or Deebo Samuel? No, I think that's a good question.
I think that's a good question. So
who is more?
There's something that you have to make sure you think about, because you said before we went live on the air, you said Deebo, and what he brings to the table, his dual threat, the way the 49ers use him would complement Jalen Hurts really well, right? You said that? You think that's it?
I did. Yeah.
But did you not see that Deebo Samuel has flat out said through his agent, he doesn't want to be used like that. He wants to be used as a traditional wide receiver.
That's dumb. I'm
sorry.
That's dumb.
As a wide receiver, being thrown in the backfield and taking more hits as a running back shortens your career. So I get why he says that. Being used
I get why he says it, but I think he's amazing at it. He's amazing at what he does. I mean, he put up.
Look at Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was used in a similar style. And look at how quickly his career got shortened because of the fact that he's being put in the backfield all the time. And I know there's others just like Percy Harvin. But so that you got to think about it. So are you willing to commit all that draft capital and all that money to a guy that really you want to use him in X situations, but he doesn't want to be in those situations? So it means you're only going to be limited if you want to keep him happy.
So I guess I'm falling into the typical.
That's why I'm not anti doing it, just questioning doing it.
No, I got that, and what I'm saying is I'm probably falling into the typical Eagles fan that thinks that, oh wow, we can get Deebo but not give up a lot. That's really, if you want me to be honest, that's where I'm really at, because I think to get a guy like Deebo, you're realistically going to have to give up a lot more than really I would be willing to give up. You're right. Because I think the bigger problem with it, more so than the actual, I'd be willing to give up the 18th pick and Reagor. I'd even probably be willing to give up the 15th and Reagor, to be honest with you, because Deebo is that talented. I think the bigger issue is the contract, and you mentioned that.
Right.
He's realistically only had one great year. He's not healthy either. He's been hurt. So that is a major red flag. And you're right. I'm not going to give a guy like that $100 million. So
let me counter it again. What would you be happier with? Giving up the 15th pick, Jalen Reagor, whatever else. Say that 2024 second round pick we got from the Saints. All right, so a 15th pick, a future second round, Jalen Reagor for Deebo Samuel. Give him $100 million, whatever it is. You've got yourself a really great wide receiver that's still fairly young. Okay, that's option one. Option two is you draft Jameson Williams or Wilson or Lave with that 15th pick. You got another young wide receiver that's on a rookie deal for 4 more years. Or option three, with the 15th pick, the Eagles select defense, whatever defense, okay? And then you go trade your second round pick and you bring in Calvin Ridley, who we've talked about countless times. So you got option one, making a big move for Deebo. Option two, continuing the youth movement, which I still think is the way it's going to play out. and drafting a wide receiver at 15, or option 3, go out there and trade for a guy that would have cost a first rounder, now might cost you a second rounder. He might not play at all in this next season, but then in 2023 you got him. Option A, B, or C. Which option are you taking? I want to see, because that's kind of you really loved, you really loved the Deebo Samuel idea, but now I've put 2 other really good options on the table for you.
I actually like option C. I you know me. I've been high on Calvin Ridley forever. And I know a lot of people are still shying away from it. And they'll say, well, he had these mental issues. And dude, listen, nobody knows what he was going through. Maybe it wasn't even a mental. Maybe he just didn't want to play for listen, nobody realistically knows.
Maybe he knew already back then that he was going to get caught for this gambling thing. And it kind of messed with him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't buy the whole everyone that says, oh, well, he hasn't played, that means he's not going to be good. Dude, these guys are like world-class athletes. Like anybody that watched Calvin Ridley, you don't have to be a football knowledgeist to realize how good he is at what he does. I mean, I think if Calvin Ridley is healthy and he didn't get the issues that he had last year, he goes up into that next tier, into the top tier of guys. I mean, that's why the Falcons were willing to move on. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, the Falcons knew that Julio was washed, which by the way, I don't actually believe that. I think Julio still has something left in the tank. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree.
But I do think that he is a little bit past his prime, though.
Agreed.
They would not have let him go if they did not feel that Calvin Ridley was an elite type guy. They wouldn't have. And they did. So that to me, if you could get Calvin Ridley for a second round pick now, I would do that any day of the week. Calvin Ridley's better than any wide receiver on the Eagles, currently, including Devonta Smith.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, Joe, when I get time to actually test the equipment, we will be doing that. It's just a matter of me finding 30 minutes to actually sit down.
Joe wants to come on and tell you how he wants Deebo Samuel, and I know he does. And I'm the same. We all want Deebo Samuel, but
I actually
give up what you got to give up to get him.
So you know what would be my dream scenario? They go out and get Jameson Williams with the 15th pick, or a lot, whoever, and get Calvin Ridley, and then you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch with Devontae Williams, Calvin Ridley in the slot if you have to, and you got Quez Watkins as your 4. Because no offense, Howie and Nick Sirianni on Wednesday did spend some time. They're still hyping up Watkins. They still have high hopes for Quez Watkins.
And Rager is your 5, dude.
And Rager, well, at that point, in 2 years, Rager will be gone and stuff like that. But man, could you imagine that? That'd be a fantastic.
That's a young wide receiver room, but that could be very potent.
Yeah, and then
I like your thinking, Phil. I mean,
it's not. I didn't think of this because I'm anti-Deebo. If the Eagles come out today or tomorrow or whatever and say, or even on draft day, look, we trade the 15th pick and X, Y, and Z to go get Deebo Samuel, I'm going to applaud the move most likely. I'm going to say that's a great move. It improves the team. Blah blah blah. It's just not my number. It's kind of like relating it to the Phillies when Castellanos, Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber. I called somebody the gold star. I called Schwarber the bronze medal, signing. Deebo Samuel wouldn't be my gold medal decision at wide receiver just because of the whole package of what would have to get done. But it's still medaling in the Olympics. You know what I mean? It's still a really great move that makes you better for several years. So I wouldn't be against the move. I just think there's better value, big picture, for what it's going to take to get Deebo with other options. I'm looking at it from different angles here.
Well, let me circle back to what I asked you earlier. Who do you think is the better wide receiver, Deebo Samuel or DK Metcalf? And who would you be more willing to make a move to get out of those two?
Well, who's the better wide receiver first? The better wide receiver is DK Metcalf. The better football player, because he does so many things, is Deebo Samuel. But Deebo Samuel doesn't want to be the football player. He wants to be the wide receiver.
I got that,
so I'm saying the wide receiver wise, DK's better. but the whole package, Debo's
Who would you be more willing to trade for, in your opinion?
If it's an equal
If you
trade,
look at both of the guys and you say, okay, who would make more sense?
If they're both going to cost me just to make the scenario equal, they're both going to just cost the 15th pick. They're both going to cost a $100 million extension. Just so you just thinking out loud,
Yeah.
the same person, I'm taking DK Metcalf over Debo Samuel.
Okay, then you're right where I'm at. I think a lot of people would be the opposite. They'd want Debo, but Debo's the flashy name because of what he did last year. Exactly. I think DK is
got some injury history.
Realistic. Yeah, but I got that. But I think DK is still realistically the higher ceiling to me out of the two. I do. I think DK Metcalf. I mean, we've said it. How he's like some of the stuff that he does at his size is like it's almost. Yeah. I don't want to compare him to Joel Embiid, but what he does at wide receiver for his size is like unfathomable sometimes. Not that Debo's not a big dude. I mean, Debo's a beast too. I mean.
AJ Brown is another option. So it's funny because Joe brings up AJ Brown, but this goes back to what Howie Roseman just said in his press conference.
Yeah, they're not going to get AJ Brown.
Well, it's not that. It's because of what Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, the trades and the money they got. Now you almost have to is AJ Brown or Debo Samuel or DK Metcalf better than Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams?
No.
But because they set the market here, and now this wide receiver market is booming to get DK, AJ Brown, or Debo, it's going to cost even more, and you're going to have to pay them even more than they're worth. So you're going to because you're overreacting to what was already done and set in the market. Now you're going to overpay for guys, and Howie made that point. Being reactionary to the next big boom, kind of. Makes you fail sometimes. He didn't say this, but he kind of hinted. That's kind of why he signs a lot of his young players. He signed Dallas Goedert. He signed Jordan Mailata, to an extension before he'd even started more than 3 or 4 games. You kind of gotta, foresee the future a little bit as a GM. And being reactionary to these guys right now is a problem.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
If Debo Samuel and DK Metcalf would cost the 18th or the 15th. Rager and multiple other picks to get those two guys, AJ Brown would cost even more because AJ Brown just last year was in fantasy football, which I know it's not real life football. He was the number 1 wide receiver drafted in dynasty leagues just last year. He's very highly rated as far as what his ceiling is. I doubt that Tennessee is going to give him up for less than 2 first-round picks. Like, he's a guy like I'm not saying he's Devontae Adams level or Tyreek, but he's right below it. He's above Debo and DK in my mind. So he's going to cost even more. I don't see the Eagles getting any of these guys because of the scenario that you just said. I don't think they're going to go the route, overpay. Let's get into this, this foray of wide receiver, overpayments or whatever you want to call it. Whatever he called it in his interview. I don't think that he's going to do it because I don't think it's a smart business practice right now for where this team is. If the Eagles were 1 player away, I think if the Eagles were 1 player away from being like a contender, then I would say, yes, let's go get Debo. Like, say Hurts was further along in his progression and we said, Hurts is the guy, and we all were on board with that. Then it would be a no-brainer. Yes, go get Debo. But I don't think it makes sense to go and get these guys when we still don't even know what Hurts is. And listen, I love Hurts, but I'm not ready to even commit to say he is the guy because he hasn't shown me that he is. So why would we want the Eagles to go and all of a sudden spend $100 million at wide receiver and then make them deficient in other areas when we could just go the easy route, like you said, be cheaper, draft a guy that could potentially be better than Debo 3 years from now, Jameson Williams. I'm not saying he is, but why would we do that?
No,
it just doesn't make business sense. And that's what I think a lot of times when you do these shows, a lot of people I don't want to say come at you, but they don't understand that you're doing it from a perspective of you're thinking like how he thinks, not exactly what you would want to do. Because in the scheme of things, I think you would want Debo Samuel on this team if you could get him for an arm and a leg. I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want Deebo Samuel if all you had to do was say, here's the 18th pick, give us Deebo?
And I just think it's progress on Howie's standpoint that he makes those statements like he did the other day about, not jumping the gun. Like, he's made mistakes in free agency before. We could talk the dream team. How many people did he overpay on the dream team? Because he was reactionary. Now he realizes being reactionary to the booms in the market is not necessarily the smart move. Do you really think that the guys, the Devontae Adams, and do you really think Miami now with Tyreek Hill and all that they gave up for Tyreek Hill, they're not even setting their quarterback situation in Miami? That's still a question mark there. Are the Raiders, now that they gave up so much for Devontae Adams, they're in the hardest division in football. So they just overspent at a position, and it didn't help them. If anything, it might have made them worse because now they can't be building the team the way they want to.
Well, I think the Miami Dolphins are actually, and I know I'll get flack for saying this, I think the Miami Dolphins are a lot further along in their rebuild than the Eagles are. So, like I said, I'm not saying that they don't have a similar situation at quarterback, but I think getting a guy like Tyreek Hill can't hurt that situation. Like, Tyreek Hill is elite enough.
Not to cut you off, but they do have a brand new head coach. Their whole organization's in upheaval because of the whole Brian Flores thing, and they're in a division with the Bills and the Patriots. So
I'm not saying that the Dolphins are the next Super Bowl champions. What I'm saying is they're a lot further along, and it made more sense for them to get Tyreek Hill than the Eagles. That's all I'm saying is that I think we have to pump our brakes and be realistic of where this team is. Just because they made the playoffs in the weakest division in football doesn't mean that the Eagles are all of a sudden ready to unite to, Super Bowl contender. They're not. If I said they were, then I'd be lying.
No, I mean,
do I think that they have potential? Yes, the Eagles absolutely have potential. I think Nick Sirianni definitely improved as a coach. I think he grew a lot. I'm not willing to give up on the defensive coordinator just yet. And I know that you were a very big, fan as far as saying, guys, he's not as bad as we think. Let him get some talent. I mean, there's a lot of things to be happy about with the Eagles too, but you're right. You have to think like Howie is. And when he has these press conferences, they're not like just for shits and giggles. Like, he is speaking a lot of truth. I know there's a lot of stuff he might say to try to, play the game, but there's truth to what he's saying. And if he's saying that, if he says that, what he did about like the wide receiver market, and maybe like if we did it now, we'd be too late. Don't you think he's setting us up to not be mad at him when he doesn't do it? Just a question.
We could change. You're on 4 days next week with me as we lead up to the draft. With the 15th pick, as of this moment, with the 15th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select, or will you hear Roger Goodell come out to a chorus of boos, boo, boo? Will you hear that? And you'll hear, with the 15th pick, the Eagles have traded the pick too. Which one first, before you answer the answer to it, which one of those two will you hear when he comes out with the 15th pick?
I think they're going to make the pick.
Okay. And with the 15th pick, as of Friday, April 22nd, 6 days from the draft, 15th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select.
Well, I think Jamison Williams is their target. I think if he's like there at like 12 or 13, I think they might trade up because I think they really want him.
All right, let me hang on a second. So 12. So let's just go. So the Eagles are 15. 14 is Baltimore. Baltimore could always use another wide receiver. Houston is kind of in a rebuild at 13, so they're more probably looking offensive linemen, defense, like foundational pieces. The Vikings at 12, they got Thielen and Jefferson. They don't really need a wide receiver there. 11, Washington. I've heard rumors that Washington might want a wide receiver to pair with Scary Terry, another guy that might be on the trade market. The Jets at 10, they might want a wide receiver. Seattle, I don't know. So, 12, 13, maybe you jump up over the Baltimore Ravens there. It won't cost you much to move up 2 picks. So is it going to be Williams?
I think that's who they want. I don't know if they'll get him because like I said,
if he's off the board, will you be okay with Chris Olave, Drake London, or Garrett Wilson, whatever wide
I
receiver?
do not like Drake London. I know.
Just because he's a USC guy and we already had Nelson Aguilar from USC? Is
I
that
do
the only
not
reason?
like Drake London. I just don't.
Okay.
He reminds me of Artega Whiteside.
Okay.
Chris Olave, I don't know enough about him, but I mean, a lot of people are high on him. I know last year he was actually probably the number 1 rated wide receiver at this point. Yeah, I think for me, it's Williams or Olave.
Okay.
But if neither of them are there, then I'm going defense. I don't want to just keep reaching for position like you said.
You still got we've got what, pick 50 or 51, whatever the next round pick is, and you got Dotson, the wide receiver from Penn State. You got George Pickens from Georgia. You've got a couple of our wide receivers that'll be there in the second round. Now,
I see a lot of people mentioning this Jermaine at defensive end.
Yeah, you got Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be available there either. Defensive ends, they're not even called defensive ends.
Edge.
They're edge, right? They've changed
the
name.
Old, dude. I'm old.
They've changed the name of a position. It's edge rusher now. People see the value in edge rushers, and the Bosas of the world, the Watts of the world. You now see teams that is probably right up there with left tackle. Probably one of the 2 most important positions. The foundation. When you're picking in the top 10, it's because you're a bad football team. These guys. You look at the top edge rushers in this draft. You got Thibodeau, you got Walker, you got him, you got Karlaftis, you got Hutchinson. You got 5 guys there that all could go in the top 10. Jacksonville, Detroit, Texans. The Giants have 2 picks, 5 and 7. They're going to draft an edge with one of those picks because they've had the JPPs, the straight hands of the world. So they know the value of that position there. I don't think Jermaine Johnson will be there at 15. If he's there, I take him. Hell, I even take George Karlaftis at 15. If he's there, because edge rusher is a position that you need always. Carter saying Wilson's better than Olave. Yeah, I agree with that. But Wilson probably will be the first wide receiver off the board. Maybe. Draft the Joby. Well, they're not going to draft the Joby with pick 15 or 18. I can see them, Carter, if you haven't caught on, I've talked a lot about them trading back from 18 to 20 with Pittsburgh or further back. If they trade back into the mid-20s or early 20s, absolutely I can see them taking David Ajobi and taking that chance with the injured. How he talked about injuries and drafting injured players. And he says you have to look at the position and the injury. So, he tried to compare the Sidney Jones was a reach. It was a bad position. Looking back, it was a bad risk to take because of the position and the injury. But taking Landon Dickerson based off of the injury and the position, it wasn't that big of a deal. So, Ajabi, the injury, I don't know. We'll see. But I wouldn't take him at 15 or 18. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think if Williams is there at 15, Jameson Williams, he's the pick. No doubt about it.
I think Wilson won't be available even past pick 10. I get what Carter's saying, but I didn't have Wilson. I didn't have Wilson on their radar because I don't think he's going to be there.
I was involved, and it's going to air on their network later this week. I think Tuesday or Wednesday. Ref the District. They're Washington Commanders. I got that right. I just flew right off. I didn't say Washington anything else. The Washington Commanders, the Commies. They're similar to us. They do Washington sports podcast, and they did a mock draft. And they had a podcaster from every team represent, their city. And I was picked to represent the Eagles at pick 18. So I recorded a little 2-minute video. It'll be dropping on their show this week. And it was funny. At my pick at 18, my man Joe Castro from Philly, he picked for the Eagles at 15. He picked McDuffie, the cornerback, which the reason why McDuffie was picked at 15 was because all 3 of those wide receivers, Olave, they were all gone. And so was, I don't have their draft in front of me, but Wilson, Williams, Olave, and Drake London were all gone. Exactly. But these were all podcasters picking who they want, not, who will get picked. Yeah, they picked me, Carter. That's right. People respect my opinion. They expect the age. the knowledge that this 41-year-old brain has. That's the problem. They picked based off of fandom and not thing. So when I got there at 18, there were other names on the board, but George Karlaftis was still there at 18, and I took George Karlaftis because an edge rusher with his potential talent at 18, you're getting great value. But there's no way 4 wide receivers will be gone. But there is a scenario where 2 of the 3, if not all 3, are gone. If A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel and all these guys are going to cost you hundreds of millions of dollars to lock up, teams might start thinking it might be time to get some really good, talented young wide receivers in the draft so you've got some financial control over them for the next 4 years.
But let's remember, for every Justin Jefferson, there's a Jalen Reagor in the draft. So there's going to be that team that takes a wide receiver high, and the guy's going to be a bust because it happens a lot.
Yeah, actually, Derek Carter saying George is equal to Derek. I don't know about that comparison. I'm not a fan of George Karlaftis, and I've said it multiple times. If you read his bio is a high motor, high upside guy.
Derek Barnett.
He makes me think of, what was that guy? The Marcus Smith. That's what I think of when I see George Karlaftis, a guy that Howie's trying to outthink himself. The problem is George Karlaftis is a reach at like 12 or 14. At 18, you take a chance on George Karlaftis. At 20, you take a chance on George Karlaftis because of that upside. Yeah, but Joe, Jermaine Johnson is not going to be there at 15 or 18. He's just not. He's going to go in the top 10. I could see him going to the Giants at 7. I don't have an official mock done up. I might do a top 20 mock draft, and type it up and stuff like that, post it. But yeah, I just don't say it. Yeah. What about
mock draft right now?
Okay. I mean, we can do
For
a quick
shits
mock
and giggles.
Yeah,
Let's see where they're going now.
For some reason, when I share screens, it's killing my it drags my Wi-Fi down. I'm not sure why. All right, so I got it. See, I was obviously prepared for this already. All right, so we'll just rotate. We'll go right through the top 15 picks. I'll let you go number 1. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars pick at number 1. Who you taking?
Thibodeau.
You're going Thibodeau over Hutchinson. Okay.
I'm sorry. I already went.
We'll restart. Look at you, making me restart the draft on the first pick. Close this out. Restart the draft here. All right. That's your one redo. Hutchinson. Okay. There you go. Detroit takes Thibodeau at number 2. 3, Houston. You're on the board.
It would help if I had my eyeglasses. I can't see these guys.
Oh, my God. You need eyeglasses.
Just go best player available.
Evan O'Neal. All right, so this is when it starts to get tricky. The Jets at number 4. Do they take the safety Kyle Hamilton? Do they take an edge rusher? They go with Sauce Gardner, cornerback. Another lineman to protect. They have 10th pick, so they can still get their lineman later. Kyle Hamilton, there's a lot of talk of Kyle Hamilton falling in the draft. If we're just going best player available or no trades involved, Kyle Hamilton's not falling outside the top 5 or 6. So Kyle Hamilton's the pick at 4. So then you got the Giants at 5. Now I'm telling you, the Giants are going to take an edge at 5 or 7. So you get both 5 and 7, both Giants picks. So you better take one edge rusher with one of those 2 picks.
Best edge.
That would be Trayvon Walker. And this is where it gets interesting with Carolina at 6. The Eagles trade with them? Probably not. They probably go quarterback. They're going to take Malik Willis at 6. So then you got the Giants with their next pick. What else do the Giants need? What?
Sauce.
You want a little bit of sauce at 7. All right. Falcons at 8. Best offensive lineman. Build that foundation. Defensive tackle. They don't need a wide receiver because they don't know what they're doing at quarterback yet. So you go get the best lineman to protect them. Then you're at 9 with the Seahawks. What do? Defense, offense, wide receiver. Who's their quarterback going to be?
I was just going to say quarterback. They need a quarterback.
Are they going to draft a quarterback at 9? Are they really going to take Kenny Pickett at 9?
Yes, Kenny Pickett.
Really? All right. That's your pick. That helps up the Jets. Who did I put? I took Hamilton. So now I take the best lineman on the board for the Jets right there. So now you're at Washington at 11.
Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
The wide receiver.
All right. So then Vikings are up. Do they work on their defense? And who did you take with the Jets? You took Trayvon Walker there. Maybe the Vikings work on defense. They go edge rusher Jermaine Johnson there. So then you got the Texans up at 13.
They need a lineman to protect Davis Mills.
They need a lineman. Well, the best lineman is the 16th ranked player in the draft at 11.
Okay, then what's the best player available?
You got Jordan Davis at defensive tackle. You got Jamison Williams at wide receiver. You got Stingley, the cornerback at 14. You got Karlaftis. Stingley off the board there. Now this is 14. You got Baltimore. Do they improve their defense more, which they've spent a lot of money on their defense, or do they go wide receiver? And that's where your Jamison Williams comes off the board, in my opinion.
Damn you.
Well, but see, that's the realistic thought. That's why if you want him, he may.
Well, that's why I think the Eagles might trade up. That's why I said that.
But see, here's the thing: we're here at 15. Before you pick at 15, you got the Saints at 16, the Chargers at 17. We know the Chargers don't need a wide receiver. We know the Chargers don't need a quarterback. We know the Chargers, the Saints might need a quarterback, but they also have the 19th pick. Here's a scenario.
I'm trading back here. If I didn't get Jamison Williams, I'll trade back.
Right here. You got two Saints picks in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh wants a quarterback. So do the Saints. This is where the Pittsburgh Steelers call the Eagles at 15 and be like,
I want a second rounder and their pick, and it's done.
So then, but for this thing, the Eagles, if it played out this way, would they go? It's early to take Karlaftis, but him. You got Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle from Georgia. You got Matt Corral. You got an offensive tackle. You can go all the way down to 20 and pick Olave, the next best wide receiver on the board. Devin Lloyd at 21. I don't know.
How did Lloyd drop so far?
Devin Lloyd? Because
everyone was so high on Devin Lloyd.
Right. But as you get closer to the draft, two things happen. One, free agency plays out, so different positions end up with different values. Two, quarterback. Everybody says this is a terrible quarterback class. But is it really?
Could it be a reach to take Devin Lloyd at 15 for the Eagles?
It's a reach. It's not just a reach. It's unrealistic because Howie Roseman will not take. Actually, let me refresh the other screen here. Hold on. What did he say about linebacker? When you talk about off-ball linebackers, their value in the passing game is important. There's different value in the pass game. Obviously, pressuring the quarterback, being able to blitz and create pressure is an important part to that too. Being able to match. So it doesn't really say whether the lack of attention around linebackers was brought up. He thinks it's a good class, despite what the media says. I don't know. That does not scream Howie Roseman saying he's taking a linebacker.
Offer Pittsburgh that pick and get a second back. See if they do it.
Let's see here. Pittsburgh. I doubt that this site has terrible value thing here. Next. Oops. Pittsburgh. All right. Oh, this worked. There we go. Next. So we're offering 15 for 20 and 52. I'm just going to tell you, it's not going to work. I'll take next year's second. I don't think that'll work either. Yeah, it was declined. You just want to see it get proposed. So I'll make a terrible offer here, that just to get it to go through here. So we'll say 20 for 20 and say 138, just to make it go through. And 138 for 15 because we're only that was even declined. All right, let's just say that 15 is the Eagles is Pittsburgh.
All right,
they take the quarterback, right? Matt Corral. Then the Saints are up at 16. I guess they take Jordan Davis because you can't let Jordan Davis fall any further. You go get an offensive lineman to help protect him for the Chargers. Now you're on the board at 18.
Olave.
You're going to go Olave with 18. Okay, that's fair enough. All right. Then 19. And you're back to the Saints again. Do they reach for a quarterback? I don't know. Desmond Ridder? No. Sam Howell? No. No, they take. So they already took a defensive tackle. So they rework. Go get a guard, protect whoever. I don't know. Then you're at 20 in the Eagles. You go Karlaftis. You go Karlaftis. You could go Andrew Booth Jr.
Karlaftis.
All right.
At 20, I think it's fair.
Okay. So you've gone in the first round. You've made a trade with Pittsburgh so they can get their quarterback. We don't know what they got back. But then the Eagles collect Chris Olave and George Karlaftis. That's the way it plays out to you.
Yeah, like I said, I think
removed you instead of the draft.
I think Jamison Williams is their target, just like last year Devonta Smith was, and I think they will trade if Howie feels that he might get taken. Like I think Howie is willing to maybe move his second rounder and our first to move up since he got an extra second rounder.
Right.
A lot of people aren't looking at that. Like when you say flexibility, yes, it's for next year with the quarterback, but getting that extra second rounder also helps you if you want to move up. I do believe there is a scenario. I don't think that they could get up to 6. Like you were saying, that was a dumb proposal. Now, if they wanted to give up a lot more to get up to 6, they definitely have the ammo. I mean, the Eagles have the ammo to get up to 6. It's a question of, are you willing to give up that? And what would you be targeting at 6? To me, it's got to be one of the defensive. It has to be Jermaine Johnson.
It has to be Jermaine Johnson, or if Kyle Hamilton doesn't go to 4 or 5, you'd be looking at Kyle Hamilton getting that safety. Because, again, Howie Roseman, I closed it out. We're close to the end of the show here. Howie Roseman was asked whether he was happy with Anthony Harris and Marcus Epps as his starting safeties. And he clearly said, sure. You know what I mean? He didn't say – he said yes, but in a way that it definitely leaves the door open that if Kyle Hamilton's available, they're going to take a stab at him.
Well, do you think that the fact that they haven't even made an offer yet to Tyrann Mathieu also shows that? Because a guy of Tyrann Mathieu's stature being out there still, to me, what do you think that signals? I'm surprised that he's still not signed.
Sometimes if you miss out on the first boat of the big money, you still have this big value in your head of what you're worth contract-wise. And the Honey Badger's got X value in his head. But now teams don't have X money anymore. It's why guys, slip down and then end up signing 1-year deals or whatnot. So he's a guy that's going to be out there until after the draft. Then the teams that target Kyle Hamilton but don't get him will then be in a bidding war to get the Honey Badger. So I think that's the way
Eagles could definitely still sign him, is what I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
Just because they haven't done it yet doesn't mean that they won't. They have been linked to him in multiple reports, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
He did visit.
He's visited, he's talked, and he's tweeted out things that make you think he's coming to Philly anyway. All right, real quick, we're going to wrap up that Eagles talk there for now. We got all next week to continue it. We're going to the Phillies game tonight. Phillies play the Brewers tonight. We got like 2 minutes to preview the Phillies game here. Thoughts on tonight's game? You got Ranger Suarez going against Freddie Peralta, who has 11.57 ERA, but let's be honest, he's a much better pitcher than that. He's had, a sub-3 ERA last year, sub-4 the year before that. He's a pretty decent pitcher. The Brewers are a really good team. What do the Phillies got to do tonight to come out and get their first 2-game winning streak of what feels like for 10 years?
They need to hit the ball. That's what they get paid to do. Hit baseballs. They get paid. They didn't have college degrees. They get paid to hit home runs.
Right.
So, no, I think the Phillies. Obviously the last game they came out and they kind of put up 9 runs, and you said it yourself that you were always going to take the Phillies if it was the over, but if it was the under, you're always going the other team, which that makes a lot of sense right now, the way they've been playing.
Right.
I think that the Phillies need to be consistent. I would like to see if for nothing else to be consistent, come out with the same lineup tonight that they did last night or Wednesday, just because it worked. So let's not change it. Let's try to.
I wasn't thrilled with the lineup, but it worked. I kind of dabbed. I would love your opinion. I don't want this to be a 5-minute conversation or anything, but I kind of dabbled on Thursday yesterday when I was solo with the thought process of Camargo and or Bohm at the top of the lineup in the 1-2. Because Segura is not a leadoff guy. We know that. Hoskins should not be in the 2-hole. Whether you go Schwarber back in 1 and Camargo or Bohm at 2, or you go Camargo 1, Bohm at 2, or you go Bohm at 1, Segura at 2, any kind of combination that. Thoughts on it? Because they're our best hitters right now.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to Bohm because I think actually it might even help him even more as far as his approach at the plate if he is put in a position where they say, yo, you're going to be our leadoff hitter. Like, I think a lot of times the biggest struggle for these young guys is confidence in themselves and their ability. And I think putting somebody in a leadoff spot shows that you have what's the word I'm looking for? You believe in them.
Right.
So it would actually instill a confidence to somebody. Now, could it backfire? Could he go put there and go 0 for 4 3 games in a row and all of a sudden? Yes. I think sometimes though you got to take risks in any job, in any business.
Just a thought I had there. So we're going to the game.
I'm not opposed to it.
All right, so we're going tonight, and I was thinking it's my first game in like 2 years. It's going to be my first time at Citizen Bank Park in like 3 years. What's your like favorite thing to do at the ballpark? Like it's my first time going. Like we're going up pretty early today. We're going to go when the gates open. I just want to walk. I just love walking around the concourse, like before the game. You know, taking in the sights of the ballpark, and you know, just the the stress reliever of walking and sitting in the empty-ish time frame of the ballpark. It's very relaxing to me. Just going to my seat at 6:00 before the game and just sitting there for 20 minutes. I love the Hatfield Italian sausage and peppers. Now I might not get one because there's so many new, food options. I might have to check out some of the new food options. But what is it to you? What's your favorite part of going to a ball game? Especially when you haven't been to one in a while.
I mean, it's the same. It's taking it all in, the stadium atmosphere. I myself love to go early. I know a lot of people tailgate. Obviously, I don't drink now, but in my prior day, I used to tailgate a lot. But no, I enjoy actually being in the ballpark, not just because of the game, but yes, the atmosphere, the smell of the foods, like the hot dogs. Like I mean, honestly, like yeah, there's nothing like it to me going to a baseball game, and even the smell of like. If you go down, before you get in your seats and you're not sitting in the first row, if you're not lucky enough to have those kind of seats, or Diamond Club tickets, but like smelling the grass and just taking everything in is definitely the best part. I agree with you, and just being with friends,
absolutely,
that part of it too. Like just like I said, who doesn't love being at the ballpark?
Agree. So, our man Brett, check him out on Twitter. I shared his post. I think he still has one free ticket. So if anybody wants to go, hit him up on Twitter there and see if he can hook you up with a free ticket. We'll go. Maybe we'll even go live on Twitter right from the ballpark. I don't know. I think there's an option on my phone that we could go live from the ballpark. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Hey, Jason, fantastic show this morning, trending in the AM, right here on DSM Media. We'll be back next week, Overreaction Monday. Me, Jason, Mark. Well, who knows? We might be talking a wrap-up of the Sixers-Raptors. We'll be recapping the Phillies Brewers series. We got lots we'll talk about on Monday. We might even have to start like 8:15 on Monday so that we have a little bit more time. Everybody have a great day, a great weekend. Be well. It's going to be 80 on Sunday. Jeep top coming off on Sunday, baby. That's all I can say. Everybody have a great day. And what do we say? Ring the bell today, right? Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.